his life total to get in.
No.
Looks like he'll be doing that. Looks like he'll be getting in this turn. We'll see, but I've got a feeling he'll be getting in for quite a bit of damage after the Black Poplar Shaman was the only play from his opponent.
Sure.
John's kind of hitting a good amount of land here. I'm not certain that he wouldn't like to see a few action spells.
I tell you what he has got, though, as an action spell. He has in hand Kithkin Harbinger, which is very nice because he can Harbinger up for Wizen Sen, potentially, which would obviously be a little more threatening for Carvalho. Yep. He's also got Pestamite in his hand. Now, that means, again, if Carvalho just decides to be a little bit clever and pile in with the Sea Guide Ash because I'm big and I'm burly, well, that's another guy that won't be blocking. I think Finkel's in this one. I mean, yes, Carvalho's had a nice start, but again, the Kithkin deck is pretty resilient these days.
Yep, he's just, it's so unbelievable how often he looks behind and all of a sudden there's 15 creatures on the board and they're going to the next game. Although you got to wonder if he didn't want to play the Pestermite to untap one of the lands and drop the Kithkin Harbinger there as well. The reason that he might not do that seems to be the plethora of blockers that can get in the way of his opponent's of his creatures from his opponent Carvalho. So we may see him use that as a offensive spell to tap the blockers so that he can get in.
Yep. Well, in goes Sea Guide Ash, and Finkel drops from 15 down to 11.
I'm at 11. You're 13.
Oh no,
Yep.
I misclicked.
Verify the life total.
Yeah, that's right. I pushed it backwards because you went 1,
Two
4,
players
4.
a little confused over what the damage is.
We're all good, and the scores are correct as on your screen. Carvalho at 13, Finkel at 11, and Finkel does indeed lead this match by 2 games to 1. John draws, and there's the Wizen Sen as we predicted.
Yep.
Flying.
In comes. I'd like to fly, please. That is 6 damage through the air. Carvalho.
That puts
I'm on 7.
Carvalho in a tight spot because John's got the Pestermite, like we said, when he held on to that instead of playing both. He's now got the Pestermite to tap whatever blocker is most relevant.
And it flies.
Yep, and he'll be getting in for lethal next turn if his opponent doesn't have something.
So we are right on the verge of John Finkel being in the final.
Absolutely, and boy, what an exciting final that would be. The Hall of Famer, all-time great.
Here we go, Pestermite, the guy down. There's
there
the
it is.
hand.
There, we got a final.
John Finkel is through to the Pro Tour Kuala Lumpur final. Johnny Magic
And the crowd
will be
goes
the
wild.
last player in the building to be playing Magic here in Malaysia. Oh, wow. You would not guess from the look on his face, but even his heart must be pounding after that. He took Marco Carvalho down 3 games to 1. Carvalho said, if I can get to the late game, I win. Finkel said, you know, I don't like late games too much. I'm kind of thinking beginning and a little bit of middle will do me just fine. John Finkel through to the Pro Tour Kuala Lumpur final. That does not get much more exciting. The biggest name in Magic at the final table. All right, somebody is going to have to try and beat this man. It's either going to be a Chinese guy or an Italian. The Italian is Mario Pascoli, and the Chinese guy is Ming Shi. So let's go and have a look at what's going on with that. So what we're going to do, as Finkel and Carvalho there, Carvalho, you see he's done absolutely everything he could. He can hold his head up high, got past 1 Hall of Famer, couldn't get past 2. The gauntlet just a little bit too strong there. And what we're going to do is we're going to move up the other match to our feature table, bring you the best possible coverage, cameras from every angle. The commentators will be at exactly the same angle we've been at all day, and it doesn't get much better than that, does it?
No, it's been a really exciting Pro Tour. You know, you had 4 Pro Tour champions in this top 8. By the time we got to the semifinals, it was the Young Guns who had taken down 3 of them, but the last remaining in John Finkel has still managed to stick it out and wind up in the finals. And we're looking at Mario Pascoli and Ming Shi. Soon will be starting here. They already have 2 games down. Mario's up 2-0 against his opponent, and Mario's deck is just a monster in this matchup. It's just so good, and the reason is because the blue-white Merfolk deck relies so much on specific cards being in play in order to be successful.
All right, so we're heading away. On the far side there is Mario Pascoli, the current Italian national champion, also the champion in 2004. He looks pretty solemn there. He didn't look solemn when he heard he was in top 8. He was jumping for joy. And it's great to see someone so excited like that when you achieve a dream, because the number of people who would like to play on one of those hallowed tables, it runs into the millions.
Oh, yeah, very high.
So fair play to him. Here we go then. We're underway with the turtle shell. Is that ground he's made down, or is that turtle shell?
Nope, that's
it
the
is
Drowner
Drowner Secrets on the right.
And then Sunflare Shaman, of course, is sitting across from the Drowner.
Yeah.
That was the card that allowed Mario to win, despite being pretty far behind. He just played 2 of them in the second game and just whomped his opponent for 24-some damage in 1 turn.
All right, well, let's take you through Ming Shi's deck. At 1, he's got Aquatex Will, Tide Shaper Mystic, and a bit of removal coordinated barrage. At 2, we've got Deep Tread Marrow, a pair of Amoeboid Changelings, and Disperse. He's also got Cloak and Dagger in his deck, a pair of Drowner of Secrets, so that's nice. They were his first 2 picks of the entire draft. Streambed Aquatex, a pair of Paperfin Rascals, Merfolk of course, chance to be 3/3s. Stonybrook Schoolmaster, Sage of Fables, and a counterspell, the Mana Leak, where you get to draw a card, Sage's Dowsing. Then at 4, we've got Ethereal Whiskergill. That's a 4/3 roadblock, essentially. A Ajani Goldmane, fantastic Planeswalker. Latchkey Fairy, and more removal in Neck Snap. Then at 5, it's Changeling Hero. At 6, Ether Snipe. At 43,009, Knowledge Exploitation, but boy, that's well worth it when it comes down. And he's also got an X spell in the form of Broken Ambitions. So absolutely, Bill, the idea of Ming's deck is, am I alive, am I alive, am I alive? Have you got any cards left?
Exactly. And he's going to be fighting an uphill battle, as we keep saying in this matchup, because so many of his cards rely on being in play and building with power together as they remain in play, like that Drowner of Secrets he lost on the last combat step. Did lose the Clash, it looks like, with his Paperfin Rascal, which otherwise would have been a good blocker. And that Fester Creep from Mario Pascoli is such a good card against the Merfolk deck, because they've got so many X1s. Of course, Ming Shi's missing out on a few of the important Merfolk you want that would normally be able to take care of that, with 0 copies of Stonybrook Angler, Silver Gildouser, and Judge of Currents in his main deck.
Absolutely. And perhaps is the Judge the most important of those within the archetype? Because what you really want to do, even if you don't have the crucial cards to block with, you've got that barrier of essentially fog effects by the life gain.
Yeah, usually you want the Silver Gildouser first, but as the season has progressed, players have moved the Judge of Currents higher and higher up on the importance of their list, because the Merfolk are typically very weak, so they take a lot of damage early on, but once they get that critical mass going, all of a sudden your attack's nullified by the fact they just milled you for 5 and gained 5 life.
Warspike Changeling there. That's a really nice card. I mean, a variation on a Hill Giant, of course, but not just a 3/3, but it's also, there's a red as well, gives it first strike.
The Warspike Changeling was, one of the important cards to come from Morning Tide. Interesting fact about Mario Pascoli, I was hiking with him earlier. He was a boxer for 6 years.
Wow, truly?
Truly a boxer. Got a leg injury, broke his leg, and that kept him out of it. So he put his strengths into Magic. Not sure if he's the type of guy you want to beat.
Wow. Okay.
Staring down the board with that 4/3 sitting across there. The Ethereal Whiskergill has what they call Island Home. It can attack if your opponent has no islands. It doesn't die, I guess, if you don't have one. But that makes it potentially a bad threat because it can't always get in. However, its stats as a 4/3 for 4 are just so phenomenal, especially because it flies, that players are willing to run it regardless of whether or not they think their opponent may have islands. And of course,
Next snap, there we go.
Yep.
All right, so that puts another card into the graveyard. Ethereal Whiskergill, it's a strangely neatly balanced card. I mean, some cards you just know are good, some you just think, bog hoodlums. And then you've got cards like Whiskergill. On the face of it, a 4/3 flyer. Surely there's a way to make that good.
Right.
And yet sometimes it does just sit there as a wall.
And as a wall, it's not that bad. Yeah, as Scott John might tell you, a 4/3 wall with flying, is just fine. Of course, the Merfolk decks also have a number of effects that allow them to give their opponent islands, including Tide Shaper Mystic, Aquatex Will, both of which mean she is playing. Streambed Aquatex, another one of the important commons from.
And yeah, there's Eye Blight's ending on the Drowner of Secrets, so the